अपनों से दूर रहना आसान नहीं होता। शादी के 15 दिन बाद पोस्टिंग, और वो भी एक डिफरेंट सिटी में। डॉक्टर हूँ, करना पड़ता है देश के लिए। पर दूर रह के भी अपनों के करीब रहना। थैंक यू वीडियो मीट। इसकी वजह से मैं हमेशा अपनी पूरी फैमिली के टच में रहती हूँ। वीडियो मीट, मेड इन इंडिया, HD वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग ऐप जो रखे अपनों को अपनों के करीब। अगर हम अपने देश को आगे बढ़ता हुआ देखना चाहते हैं तो हमें सिर्फ इंडियन सॉफ्टवेयर्स का ही इस्तेमाल करना चाहिए और अपनी देश की तरक्की में योगदान देना चाहिए, जैसे वीडियो मीट। वोकल पे लोकल। जय हिंद।
Welcome to the Talk with Legend show. In this show, I invite some famous or not so famous achievers who have done extraordinary in their lives, who can motivate us, guide us, and we can learn from. Most importantly, we all can relate to the story. But today is a different day, an exceptional, a very important one. In this series, my today's guest is a person who has been working tirelessly to save lives to deal with the pandemic. He is a professional of excellence in social work with humanitarian services, senior professor, now principal and controller of medicine at SMS Medical College and Hospitals, Jaipur. He is a renowned physician and diabetologist and fellow of Royal College Physicians, London. He has been bestowed with Rotary Foundation Fellowship in Diabetes and Metabolic Disease at Cardiff, UK, and has been awarded Fellowship of American College of Endocrinology, FACE, and Fellowship of American Chronology at Society of Diabetes in India, FRSSDI. He has published 100 plus articles in prestigious medical journals and contributed chapter for textbooks on hypertension, diabetes, and cardiovascular disorders. Delivered hundreds of guest lectures at national level conferences and international meetings. He is a principal investigator of many national and international studies. Many awards, including the PJ Mehta Young Scientist Award, Chinna Reddy Gold Medal Award, State Merit by Government of Rajasthan, and the Best Physician Award by Governor of Rajasthan. At social service front, received Rotary International recognition for contribution in Pulse, polio program, rural charitable medical camps, and whatnot. He is none other than Dr. Sudhir Bhandari, with the unique distinction of being honorary physician to governors and chief ministers last 20 years. It is my absolute honor and pleasure to welcome the legend himself, Dr. Sudhir Bhandari, to meet all of us, and here he is on our screen. Dr. Sudhir Bhandari, you are welcome. You are here to guide us and let us know. Nobody knows, Bhandari, about your journey, where you came from in our lives, where you took birth, where you studied, what kind of difficulties you went through, little bit about your little bit more, and then we will get into this difficult time which you are dealing with.
Thank you very much, Mr. Data, for your kind and very gracious introduction. I profusely thank you for your kind words. In fact, life is very interesting. I started my journey from school days, my father being a surgeon of repute, a very dedicated social surgeon who got Rajiv Gandhi National Peace Prize for his service to the poor and humanity. I have seen my father growing with service to the poor, needy, and all good medical services that inspired me to go for this profession. Although my family was not very keen because of absolutely tremendous involvement it requires. But I've been very lucky to get into medical. I qualified, and then I had an intense desire to settle abroad. And as a part of that, I got initial fellowships. I was in UK, did my fellowships from Royal College of Physicians in London. I was in US. But luck would have happened. My parents always wanted me back in country, and my mother fell sick in 1992, so I came back and settled down in city of Jaipur. Probably I am one of those who derive 100% happiness in my profession. I always believe there's so much to give in this profession, and in turns many times multifold it gives you happiness and blessings back. So probably I've been always gainer, deriving full happiness in my profession and coming back. The only difficulty which I face in my profession is short of time, because that keeps me rolling. I have a feeling that if you want to get total happiness in your life, the profession to which you belong to, you need to address difficulties of people 24 into 7. You cannot attend them time bound, and that keeps me very short of time, little short of time to my family at the cost of my personal life. So that's only, I would say, shortcoming which I'm facing and difficulty. Otherwise is a wonderful, doing good to humanity. And probably we had a testing times in COVID, we had testing time in many other epidemics, and probably I got an opportunity to take my institute to international level. So I think the time constraints are the only shortcomings. Otherwise, it's wonderful to be in this profession, and it gives tremendous blessings and happiness in turn back.
Thank you very much. This is pleasure to know, coming from nowhere and establishing in Jaipur, then setting a mark. And time is a constraint. I value your time too much. And another thing, Dr. Saab, is the authentic words which we are going to hear from you while the entire confusion is in the country, in the world rather. We would like to start with a question: where this COVID came from, what is this all about, and what is the origin like? Could you tell us a little bit more about us so that we are confusion are permanently clear?
Yes. First of all, it is absolutely a what a new thing. It has totally changed our thinking, totally changed our lifestyle, totally changed our way of life. In fact, every cloud has a silver lining. So along with the hardships and difficulties, it has taught us many disciplines of life also. COVID 19 is a viral infection which started in Hubei province of China, and this is a highly contagious viral infection. We have been coming across a lot of viral infections before also, but why the COVID 19 is so different? First of all, I must share with you why this infection, which is truly a coronavirus, is known as COVID infection. The reason is that it was a corona. CO comes from the word corona, VI comes from virus, and D comes from disease. So coronavirus disease, and 19 comes because it was discovered in year 2019. But the issue is that this coronavirus, similar episodes happen in 2003 also, which is known as the MERS, Middle East coronavirus disease. It also happens in 2012 in Southeast Asia as severe respiratory tract disease. But they were short lived, and they got cleared spontaneously within 1.5 to 2 years. But this COVID 19, which is considered to be a part of mutation of this virus from animal to the human source and vice versa. This virus has a tremendous affinity for lung, and later on, we have become so wiser and so knowledgeable that it started with a virus affecting lungs only. But you'll be surprised that over the period of time, we have come to know head to toe, every part of body it is getting affected during either acute infection or after post recovery, what we call it to be post COVID syndrome. So this is a virus infection starting from Wuhan province of China, spread world over, and it has led to mainly the lungs involvement and later the multiple organ involvement. Reason: it is a highly critical virus in the sense it has a very high morbidity and mortality, the word used for sickness and death. At the same time, you have more challenge because still now there was no specific drug available to kill the virus replication. Here, I would say very proudly that ours is one of the institute SMS Jaipur. We created first uses of certain antiviral drugs, first time in the world, which was recognized world over. And we at our institute at SMS Jaipur wanted to create a bridge between point of no treatment till the specific drug. And we were successful initially to meet out this challenge of COVID-19 infection.
Wow, thank you very much. It creates a lot of relief by hearing this, that actually we have somebody here to safeguard from day one. My second question is how easy and difficult it is to create this kind of virus. And your answer might tell us how vulnerable our life could be way forward in future, because we might have some COVID and then another COVID and another COVID. How easy it is for people to just create and destroy the world.
You're absolutely correct. You know, there's been a tremendous learning over the period of time. And I can tell you, when we started COVID, our mortality, means death rate, was to the tune of 300 to 3 to 4% out of 100. Today, we have brought down the mortality, that is a death rate, to 0.5%. Irrespective whether it is a COVID or non-COVID, whenever there is any ailment or sickness, you need to report early, the treat early, and you need to take all protective measures so that you'll never be scared of either this COVID, recurrence of new COVID-like infection. Report early, treat early, and take all preventive measures. Regarding your question that how long this COVID will last and when the life will return to normal, let me tell you, we are much better off than 8 months before when COVID started. Our learnings are better, the methodologies of treatment are better. We are more wiser to protect ourselves and our family from COVID, and we have been able to reduce the severity of the disease. With the advent of vaccine, I'm sure we will be able to protect more and more population, and we'll be able to develop herd immunity, which is a term used for immunity of the society at large, so that we have less number of people around. But still, we'll need to be disciplined, what we have learned in last 7 months, to prevent the interpersonal spread.
Dr. Saab, very interesting that we are able to cure, life is returning normal, we have a vaccine. Another point is how easy to get another virus like this. How easy for some country or some people to just make it and destroy the whole world.
Truly speaking, there has been a lot of theories about the origin of COVID-19 virus. I, as a professional, would not like to talk about various bizarre theories which is coming regarding the origin of this virus. But one thing is sure, that anything unnatural happens in this world. For example, any virus which is a seed or which is the mainly growing in the animals, which is mainly growing in the reptiles, which is mainly growing in the sea animals. If you start consuming those things, and if you try to destroy a natural harmony between a virus or a bacteria or an infectious agent with the animals, reptiles, or natural source, and if you let the virus enter a newer host, probably there is a lot of mutation. Mutation is a word which is used for changing the character of the virus, and a virus which doesn't cause any infection in the bat or any infection in the animal where this coronavirus has been inhabiting normally. But if it enters in a new host like human, which has no immunity, no past exposure, definitely is going to give rise to a lot of diseases. So I'll not be able to comment on very bizarre theories about the origin, because people have a lot of accusations and people have a lot of interpretation. But realizing that it was a physiological spread, I would only say that yes, world is always prone to spread of the newer viruses. Hence, we need to adopt a general protective measures. I give an example. Suppose there are newer viruses. Protect yourself from queuing by queuing. Protect yourself by social distancing. Protect yourself by using mask in a new alien place. Protect yourself by hand washing. Probably this is the silver lining of the cloud, that this pandemic has been terrible for us, but it has taught a lot of disciplines which we were not so rigorously adhering to. So I'm sure we need to follow these protocols always in life.
Generic, very generic question. We are all human beings, social animals kind of thing. We want to meet people, go out and meet friends. And government has also went ahead and opened lockdown. Little bit with the curfew restriction in the night, people have been living locked in their homes. Do you think any guidelines, how do you become normal in these given circumstances while the virus is everywhere and you may get infected, you may bring the virus at home? How do you protect? And especially at that time when some people and some friends have already been COVID infected and they want to meet together vis-a-vis people who have not got virus infected, how do you deal with that situation? Because this is a very important situation to bring the life to the normalcy.
You're absolutely correct. First of all, I must share with you, how does it spread? Whenever someone has contacted COVID infection, 80% of people are asymptomatic, 15 to 18% people have mild symptoms, and 2 to 3% are critical. Now, these asymptomatic patients could also be the spreaders. Even before the symptoms develop in 15 to 18%, 2 to 3 days prior to symptoms, they could be spreaders. Now, how does the virus spread? I must share with you that suppose I have COVID infection. If I speak, I throw for 2 to 3 feet the virus is in the air. If I cough or sneeze, I throw for another 1 feet, 4 to 5 feet virus in the air. When I speak, I would throw 200 to 2000 viruses in the air. But if I cough and sneeze, I would throw almost 2 million viruses in the air. So the one of the very important thing is that even if you are meeting your friends, here comes those who recovered or not recovered. Even if your friends who are asymptomatic, you are parting out. If possible, better to keep a social distancing of 6 to 8 feet. So accidentally, suppose one in them is asymptomatic carrier, you protect yourself. Number one. Number two, if it is not inconvenient, it will be prudent to use mask. Even if I'm going to talk to you later, that even if you get vaccinated later part of this year, you would be requested to keep the mask for some time, because if you use the mask, even if someone asymptomatic has accidentally come in the area where you have been there, I think you'll not inhale the virus to you. Lastly, this virus is detrimental because it has a long survival rate. A virus which sticks on the handles of your chair or the railings on a table, you go to dining area or a restaurant, it may remain alive for 2 to 5 days. When you touch your hand, those area you can carry viruses on your hands. You accidentally touch your face with those hands, you can inhale the virus. So frequent washing in case after you have used or touched any area. So after every touching of suspected area which has been a public area, better wash your hands, maintain a social distancing. If you can use mask, this is outstanding. So even interacting with your friends, I think even social distancing and hand washing, avoid handshaking, that will be fine. Sometime in a formal function, in a very close-knit social function, you may not feel comfortable using mask, but try to maintain a distance. As far as those friends who are recovered, most of them have a good antibody titer, and this antibody titer makes them quite safe. And probably it is presumed that those who have recovered with a good antibody titer are normally non-spreaders. So you can be little pretty secured with them.
Thank you for a detailed reply. Any particular precautions which people should take who are chronic disease like diabetes, blood pressure, or some ailment like somebody has gone through the transplant of heart or some body implant in the body? Do you think there is some more precautions required them for them?
I would suggest very strong message to all my friends and viewers that you should keep a very high index of suspicion. I give an example. anyone who has a low immune status, like diabetics, hypertensive, heart failure, asthmatic, those who are on inhalers and steroids, and the cancer patient, they attract virus much faster than normal men. So all people who have comorbid condition, especially all of us need to take care of our parents a lot. They are one who are more prone to catch the infection. Number one. Number two, the recovery, as I told you, there has been a mortality or death rate of only 0.5%. But who fall this in 0.5%? These are the people who have comorbid conditions. They fall in this 0.5%. So we need to be very, very careful. A new thing which we have learned in last few months, if a common knowledge in the month of March and April would have been COVID-19 means fever, cough, and breathlessness. Am I correct? You'll be shocked and surprised that 50% of the people these days neither have fever, nor have cough, nor have breathlessness. They are practically asymptomatic. They practically have non-respiratory symptoms. They might have diarrhea, they might have pain abdomen, they might have throat pain, they might have body aches, they might have pain abdomen, like any non-specific symptom. So you need to have a very high index of suspicion of any uneasy feeling, any untoward feeling in elderly people, more so if diabetic, hypertensive, and asthmatic. Get them examined. And here I would like to say CT scan of chest is a gold standard. And probably I'll explain you later that what is a gold standard test for that.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. And we will request all the audience to please raise your question. The questions will reach to me and I will put into the Dr. Saab. And we will wait for a minute before comebacks, break for a minute, and then you will see us soon. Thank you.
अपनों से दूर रहना आसान नहीं होता। शादी के 15 दिन बाद पोस्टिंग, और वो भी एक डिफरेंट सिटी में। डॉक्टर हूं, करना पड़ता है देश के लिए, पर दूर रह के भी अपनों के करीब रहना। थैंक यू वीडियो मीट। इसकी वजह से मैं हमेशा अपनी पूरी फैमिली के टच में रहती हूँ। वीडियो मीट, मेड इन इंडिया, HD वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग ऐप जो रखे अपनों को अपनों के करीब। अगर हम अपने देश को आगे बढ़ता हुआ देखना चाहते हैं तो हमें सिर्फ इंडियन सॉफ्टवेयर्स का ही इस्तेमाल करना चाहिए और अपनी देश की तरक्की में योगदान देना चाहिए, जैसे वीडियो मीट। वोकल पे लोकल। जय हिंद।
Welcome back, Dr. Bhandari. This is indeed a great conversation. A lot of questions are coming in, and one which tops the chart is COVID negative test is really negative? Can we be really guaranteed that we are now not really COVID positive?
Let me tell you, how the COVID is tested and what does a COVID negative means. The gold standard test for COVID test is COVID RT-PCR, which is a sample taken from the throat and nose. Ideally, the sample should be taken both from the throat and the nose. If you take sample only from throat, the correctness of this sample is only 60%. If you take from the nose, it is almost to the tune of 70%. When I say the correctness of COVID RT-PCR as 70% means, suppose there are 100 proven COVID positive patients and you take this RT-PCR, only 70 will test positive. 30 will known COVID positive patient will test negative. Hence, COVID RT-PCR is not a foolproof test. Many people with the mild symptoms get relaxed. Oh, my COVID test is negative. They need not to relax. If they have a mild symptoms, mild respiratory symptoms, sore throat, fever, body ache or cough, they should meet a doctor. And one of the most sensitive tests is HRCT chest. HRCT chest picks up the early viral pneumonias of the lung and it is sensitive to the tune of 99%. Hence, we'll find innumerable patients who are COVID RT-PCR test negative, but they will show the classical COVID pneumonia on HRCT test. Hence, people need to be very careful. Why it is so important to go for HRCT test? Because total recovery depends upon how early you start managing COVID. All the complications and the mortality happens in delayed starting the treatment for the COVID.
Wonderful. And this brings another question, Dr. Saab, is when I'm positive and I turned negative, you told that COVID negative is not a guarantee, it's just a 70% probability of being correct. And I am, let us say, COVID positive, I turned COVID negative, and because of that report. So how long I must ensure that I'm not infectious to others, and how do I ensure that I have the antibodies in my mind and in my body so that I'm guaranteed that I'm not very prone to the virus infection again?
Yes, I think there are two components of your question. One is COVID positivity and negativity and your infectious, and second is antibody. Now, what happens once someone tests COVID positive and he is on a particular set of treatment? It is believed that patient normally becomes non-infection in 10 to 14 days. Now, normally, once a patient is tested COVID positive on RT-PCR, we get a repeat COVID RT-PCR test on 10 to 14 day. Now, many times, a patient may be COVID negative as early as 5, 6, 7 days. This may not be a true negative, and hence we request for a repeat COVID RT-PCR test after 2 to 3 days to be doubly sure that someone has turned out to be COVID RT-PCR negative. Now, whenever a person becomes COVID RT-PCR negative after 10 to 14 days, we presume that after first week of a disease is known as week of the viral replication. Second and third week are known as the inflammations caused by the virus. Hence, we believe that virus replication or growth declines after first 7 days. So anyone turns out to be negative from 10 to 14 days, we would believe that it could be negative, normal negative, and we try to reconfirm after 48 to 72 hours if we want to do. Otherwise, after 2 weeks, we'll be more reassured of patient being COVID negative and non-spreader. Double negative reassures that patient is not a spreader and patient has genuinely become COVID negative. Because first 7 days are the days of the virus growth and replication, and next week we believe that virus number decline, but virus sets in an inflammation in the body. Now, after someone has become negative, patient had a viral infection, so first 7 days, there is a formation of IgM antibody. And in the second 7 days, there is a formation of IgG antibodies. Truly, the antibodies which are protective in nature, which depends upon the immune status of the patient, and normally we need to test antibody titers after 2 weeks of patient being negative. Immediately after patient being negative, antibodies may develop, but we may not get a true titer of antibodies because the formation goes on till 2 weeks after patient being negative. So it will be prudent to get an antibody titer done after 2 weeks of being negative, and patient has a healthy antibody titer. You can be rest assured that yes, you have a good immune response against COVID. It should protect you from future COVID protection. At the same time, if you have a philanthropic nature, you could be a right candidate to donate COVID plasma, which could be life-saving for many of the critically ill patients in first week of COVID infection.
Dr. Saab, now the much awaited discussion related to the vaccine. You have put that word many times in this talk. What is this mRNA virus and the vaccine, and how much we should rely on this hurriedly built virus?
Yeah. First of all, I must tell you, whenever there's a pandemic like this, we really look forward to have the immunity against it. I give you the best example. We staying in our country, we have all kind of spicy food, golgappas, puchkas, kachori, but we don't have any tummy upset. Any of your friends and family members coming from US or Europe, moment he comes, you treat him with a spicy food and they will have tummy upset because they don't have immunity against that kind of thing and they are not exposed to that. So one way of developing immunity is that we have a viral exposure, we have a disease, and we develop immune to that. But that is a very costly, but not desirable way of getting immunity. The most desirable way of getting immunity is to get ourselves vaccinated. You must have seen from childhood, we have seen the BCG vaccine for TB, the polio, diphtheria, tetanus. The children are vaccinated. They are vaccinated to develop the antibodies against those diseases, and hence the person gets protected against those diseases. So that's a way we have now come to an era where many of the vaccines are ready, about to be launched, and they are going to develop the immunity. I must share with you, you'll be shocked and surprised that how many agencies and institutions are working world over to produce infection is around 300.
Wow.
How many agencies and institutions are working in our country? Around 47. And 3 of our companies in our country are almost reaching to the phase 3 trial. Now, talking about the vaccine is to induce the immunity in the body. The forerunners of this vaccine therapy are 2 companies, the Pfizer BioNTech, one alliance in America, and second is the Moderna. So Pfizer BioNTech and Moderna are the 2 forerunners in America. They have been using a technique known as messenger RNA vaccine. There's another group which is in competition is the University of Oxford and a company known as AstraZeneca. They are also using a vaccine, but which is using a adenovirus as a vector. In our country, Serum Institute of India, based at Pune, have coupled up with Oxford AstraZeneca to market or to manufacture the vaccine against COVID-19. Now, these vaccines have their own characters, own merits, own demerits, but when these vaccines will be introduced to the body, they will start producing immune response. The vaccine by Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna is not a live or attenuated vaccine. It is simple a messenger RNA. RNA is a nucleic material and which introduces the antibody formation which are capable of hitting the COVID spikes or the COVID virus which enters the body. While vaccine created by Oxford, AstraZeneca, and Serum Institute of India is a covering of the COVID virus grown in a adenovirus and which will be used. So when these vaccines will be given to human body, they will induce certain antibody formation. We call it the T cell antibodies. We call it cellular antibodies, and these antibodies will protect the person from the future COVID-19 infection.
Great, sir. And this is a natural question. You can club them in the basis of the age group. From whatever age group, doctors decide who is get first. Second people are the diseased people or chronic disease people who are having some diseases. Third is the frontliners, of course, who are more prone to the risk of getting infected, and fourth, people who are already COVID positive. So could you please explain who should get it first? What is the advice for you if it is available, let us say, for everybody, and wait for the reaction, side effects, or is it advisable for everybody? What is your take on it?
Now, very important. Whenever vaccine will be available, the most prone people for vaccination will be uh, doctors and the health workers. And doctors and the health workers will be more prone for vaccination, and uh, doctors and the health workers will be more prone for vaccination, and these are the people who need to be protected first, so that they are always ready to serve the suffering humanity. Secondly, all those people who have comorbid conditions, as I talked to you, those who are diabetic, heart patient, high blood pressure, asthma, cancer, etc., and those who are above age of 60 years, because their inherent immune system is weak, they need to be vaccinated next. Then people at large can be vaccinated. But those people who have recovered from COVID and those people who have very high antibody titer, they can wait from 90 days onwards to 120 days, because it is believed so far that the antibodies formed as a post-COVID infection has been lasting for 4 months or so, or maybe even longer. So that could be there. When we talk of vaccination, we need to have a 2 doses of vaccination. What we call the second is a booster dose at the interval of 2 to 3 weeks, depending upon which vaccine you have been using. Vaccination should be avoided by the pregnant woman, should by the lactating woman, by the children below age of 16 as on today, because all the trials which have happened of the vaccination, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials, have happened in the adults. The Pfizer BioNTech vaccine was tested in 44,000 volunteers. The Moderna vaccine was tested in 30,000 volunteers, and Oxford AstraZeneca, which is being manufactured in collaboration with Serum Institute of India, has been tested in 26,000 of volunteers, but not in the children. So all health workers, senior citizens, comorbid condition, but avoid in pregnant, lactating, and children below age of 16 years till the trials in the children come into action.
Dr. Sir, I am going to put a very difficult numbers probably for you. You will agree that we are 130 billion people and 1.3 billion people, to be very specific. And we are almost one less than a percent people who got COVID positive. And we had a mammoth task to deal with that disease. That's one side of the story. Second half of the story is that now we are going to vaccinate almost everybody. We are hoping so. And there are side effects which are expected, which vaccine is not fully matured. We don't know the side effects. 2 months later, 6 months later, yesterday's news of America, where health workers were given the vaccinated, they had the allergic symptoms built, and they are showing some symptoms as side effect. What is your take on how safe that would be? Or are we moving towards again a new catastrophe created by us itself?
You're absolutely correct. First of all, I must share with you, whenever a vaccine has a foreign substance, like it has some serum, it has a certain gluten, it has a certain preservative, they are very allergic. The vaccine produced by Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna, they are simple messenger RNA vaccine. They have been tried in 44,000 volunteers with a success rate of around 95%. The pickup of the adverse effect has been mild. They have not been detrimental to life. Fever, cough, cold, soreness, and even after vaccination, I must share with you, someone might have positive COVID test and mild symptoms. Only thing is that vaccine induced immunity will protect you from having serious disease or grave disease or life threatening disease, but you may still test positive and you might have mild COVID infection in spite of having vaccine. So obviously we are in a very early phase of research, and that's the reason, to save life of mankind, to reduce the mortality and deaths of the people at large. You see, US has lost 300,000 people, while our mortality has been much less looking to the population magnitude. So the companies were allowed to fasten the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 trials and to reach to a conclusion which they have used in a big number of patients. So far, the life-threatening or such side effects have not been picked up which should warrant the stoppage of the usage of the vaccine. There are mild allergic reactions which have been picked up, and I'm sure that is the reason they are going little slow, and over the period of next few weeks, we may be able to handle that also.
So, Dr. Saab, we are at the last phase of this talk with the Legend Show, and we can continue. I have hundreds of questions. We cannot deal with that. One question catch my eye, and that is a very generic one for and today's problem. What kind of precautions you will suggest while traveling? Because people need to travel, right? And flights, cars, buses, railways. What kind of precautions person can take for all kind of transports? And of course, we understand social distancing and mask, but what more?
Yeah, I think it's an absolutely important question because we started with saying that how we can normalize our living, and traveling is the one way we need to normalize our living. Only thing is that you don't know when you travel who's sitting beside you in the flight or train, who is the person whom you sitting before you on the dining table of a restaurant, or whom you are going to meet. Even the person might not be aware that he might be asymptomatic carrier. So still, even if after coming of vaccination, the three mannerism of COVID prevention program, that is a masking, social distancing, and hand washing, will continue much longer than till the effect of COVID comes, because we are not aware of an alien situation, that who is the person besides us who can give infection to us. Number one. Number two, always try to take some immune boosters, which I'm sure a common man takes, that is zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D3, etc., some antioxidant. And lastly, the thumb rule is that whenever you have a travel, change of climate, change of people around, or some new symptoms, or you come to know the suspected contact with anyone who turned out to be positive later, immediately get yourself examined and try to pick up the disease early. I repeatedly tell and I emphatically tell that there is a total treatment of this disease. Once you pick up early, we have all modalities to help everyone, and our endeavor is to make the death rate or the mortality rate to 0% in our country by best of care what we can take.
Before we have last two questions before we end this session. One is, of course, we have hospitals, but the times can be very difficult when you are at midnight and you need to have some care for your elder family or child or somebody with an emergency care. Any guidelines you could tell us which can give us some time to reach to the hospital or a medical care if there's an emergency at home?
Yeah, do one thing. Always, every household should have a pulse oximeter. And this is a pulse oximeter, everyone knows about it, that whenever there's any symptom, try to look at the pulse, especially your parents and grandparents. Ideally, the pulse oxygen saturation should be more than 95 to 96%. If your saturation is falling down to 90 to 91%, or if it falls below 90, that is an alarm. I must share with you, there's a term known as happy hypoxemia. It means 48 hours, patient may tolerate the low oxygen levels before deteriorating. So any discomfort, any fever, any symptom, keep like a thermometer at your house, a pulse oximeter, keep seeing the oxygen levels of every elderly person. And if you find that oxygen falling down 90 or below, or if you find that resting oxygen is 96, but it falls more than 4 millimeter while 6-minute walk, there's a term known as 6-minute walk test. So make the patient walk for 6 minutes, and if it falls more than 4%, immediately think that there could be something wrong and reach to rescue. Number one. Number two, many of the houses have these days oxygen cylinders or oxygen concentrators, or many of the hospital emergencies have the oxygen supply ready at the gate. So put the oxygen supply to make the patient comfortable, and then you can do the rest of the formalities so that patient doesn't have any complications to begin with?
When I have a vaccine to myself, do I have a bloodproof jacket against the COVID virus, and for how long?
Okay.
Am I just vaccinated and then I am done completely with this entire thing?
Sure. Truly speaking, it is the first time we are going to have vaccination against COVID. No one in this world, neither the manufacturers know how long the immunity is going to last. Even post-COVID, the antibody titer which all the recovered patients develop, we are not very sure. The highest patient are recovered for 4 months and 5 months. We are monitoring, and in some patients, we are finding the antibodies falling after 3 to 4 months. So it is presumed that, like in a flu vaccine, normally antibodies last for an year or so. Nothing is concrete, nothing is definite, but we need to see over the period of time what is the longevity of immunity protection by this COVID-19 vaccine. No one knows how long it will last, so don't take it granted that once you have been vaccinated, you stand totally protected. Over the period of time, another 1 year, we'll come to know the intricacies and the protective abilities of this vaccine. But yes, once you stand vaccinated, you have a reasonably better immune system, but you need to continue the social distancing and the COVID protocols to be followed till we have a authenticated data that this is the duration of effective immunity, this is a duration of partial immunity, and this is the time when you need to have a booster dose to build up the immunity again. So nothing is clear. I think don't be in a false paradise after getting vaccinated. Yes, you are better than unvaccinated, but wait and watch how long you are protected. Meanwhile, continue taking precautions as before.
Dr. Saab, 13 days from now, 2020 will end. And we all are hoping that it ends because we have lost a lot. And there's a New Year party, which is a tradition for the whole world. And almost everybody who is listening to you must be planning something on that night, 13 days from now. And of course, when you are partying with your friends, family, close buddies, and with some drinks and dance, these all protocols which you have just told us go out of window. What is your guidelines to protect the state, protect the city, protect the country, protect the families? What is your guidelines for this now?
Truly speaking, psychosocial impact has been tremendous with this COVID. It has affected our lifestyle. But I would only say that we need to protect ourselves. More than ourselves, we need to protect our families, parents, and children. Definitely, we always look forward for this kind of congregation, party, dancing, drinking, etc. But try to amalgamate some COVID protocols, try to maintain some distancing, and I think it is could be not a lifelong phenomena. Who could be that by the next New Year Eve we may be free of all these issues. So probably you must have seen that whenever there has been a breach in the protocols of COVID prevention, there has been an upsurge of the new cases, and wherever there were lockdowns observed or the protocols were observed, there has been a decrease in cases. One thing is sure, that I'm sure by end of next New Year we should be very comfortable to celebrate all these things. But at least this year I would recommend that yes, don't reduce your festivities, don't reduce your zeal of celebrating, but it will be prudent to observe certain protocols to protect our family and country and the nation at large.
Thank you very much. Very well said. And let me tell the audience, when I come to show you myself and my family, your availability, your passion to work, cure everybody, and the more focus on the elderly people during this time, when you guide everybody, is a very fascinating story. I always tell you that you are a God-sent man to the state in our lives. Thank you very much for watching us, controlling the entire Rajasthan for this medical regions, and in this pandemic situation, providing the lowest mortality rate for all of us. A great help. Thank you very much for joining, Bhanarji.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.